Hey there, comic book fans and comic strip fans. Got a little something different for you here today. Usually I'm showing off these giant books. Well, this time we've got a smaller one, though it is still pretty darn thick. There's a lot of pages in there. Dennis the Menace. Complete Get Sick cards for dog catchers. I'm not sure what that means. But 55 to 1956. This is volume 3. I also have volume 1. I bought volume 1 when it came out and enjoyed it, but I really wasn't going to buy all the volumes of Dennis the Menace. But I think this one I must have gotten. It came out in 2006 because it was dirt cheap on Amazon, I would guess. I happened to stumble on it. But these are nice books. They got one of these ribbons in them for a bookmark. But when I was growing up in the 70s, most of my comic strip reading, besides the whatever Sunday paper we got, came from those pocket books that used to be out. And I had tons of Peanuts ones. I had a bunch of the Family Circus. And I had a few Dennis the Menace. And I always liked the Dennis the Menace. Wow, there's the little Dennis. I always liked the Dennis the Menace ones, but they were never a favorite. They never grabbed me particularly. And also, as I was growing up collecting comics, I was reading, as much stuff on comic history as I could. I don't even think the 70s Dennis, I think the 70s Dennis Menace ones were contemporary. There was never this little 1950s Dennis. I was always reading as much on comic book history as I could get, whether it was in the late 70s, early 80s, whatever it was. Smithsonian Book of Comics, those origin books, Comics Journal when I could finally find it. Other comic magazines that have probably faded away from my memory since then. Nice drawing on that woman right there. But I never read much about Dennis the Menace. I read more about, I think, the Dennis the Menace TV show always got a lot of mention. I think that was a late 50s TV show, maybe early 60s. So that's how a lot of the public knew Dennis the Menace. But the one thing that people would always mention, I like her hair right there. The one thing that whenever I would read something in Dennis the Menace by an artist talking about him, they would always mention they loved Hank Ketchum's brushwork. And by the time I read that sentence over and over, like probably in the early 80s, I hadn't seen any Dennis in a long time, so I never knew what they meant until one of the reasons I got the first volume, look at that lovely shirt he's got right there. One of the reasons I really wanted to get that first volume was to finally see his brushwork, because I don't even know if he was doing the strip in the 70s. Wow, look at all that. The thicks and the difference between working with a brush and a pen is a brush offers you an opportunity to do a lot more thicks and thins. The pen that comic inkers usually worked in, you dip in, and it offered a certain amount of flexibility to the pen tip, but not as much as the flexibility on a brush tip. And you can see those folds and such things were done in brush. The marks on the tire, where is it? Right there. And I wonder what brush you, because I think I read somewhere in the 1950s they introduced the Winsor Newton Series 7 watercolor brush, sable hair watercolor brush, that almost all inkers used since then. But I don't know what he was using to ink this, but that brush lets you do a nice pointed thick to thin line too. But he's not really doing pointed lines. He's doing sort of big flowing chunky blacks, and the stripes on Dennis's shirt are big solid lines. The silhouette of the tree. That sort of pen also, a brush also lets you do stuff like this tree you can do very quickly with big thick inky strokes. Oh, look at the big thick inky strokes in her dress there. So he really, everything I read called him, a master. He mastered the brush pretty quickly. And wow, look at that. Just look at how the silhouette black design of that back chair and his shirt worked together with all the brush strokes on the dog. Was that dog's name Ruff? I think it was named Ruff. So that's what I like the most about it. I mean, the jokes are fine. Now there's a dining room chair that's more my size. Yeah, hey, the Menace, he cut off the bottoms of it. I mean, the jokes are fun, but you know, I you know, it's just not one of. They're fun jokes, but the drawings are better. I mean, you can only read the joke. If it's a burglar, can I have his flashlight? I mean, it's good stuff. But you really, there's not much to contemplate with the jokes. You can contemplate these drawings. Wow, look at the way the bullseye on the rug juxtaposed with the patterns on his. I guess that lamp is washing out the patterns on his pajamas. Even he put a little lighting in that one. The big, thick, inky mark around her robe there. Good stuff. This is only page 21. Wow, look at that cowboy. He really was a master of brushwork. That just sings that sad cowboy sitting there. Now remember, don't mention Indians. Okay. Not to the sad cowboy. Oh, look at the father coming in all huffy. The hair on the mother, just a few lines. Zoom, zoom. And you can see his hand making them. Zoom, zoom, zoom. There's speed to those lines. There's action, there's motion that you don't always see in finished work, especially, you know, work that's polished with a pen, kind of. He's gonna, yeah. Look at, he even just gestures in the folds on that guy's pants so as not to interfere with the with Dennis the Menace himself there. So that's kind of his. Hank Ketchum's artwork, I keep wanting to call him Dennis Ketchum. Hank Ketchum's artwork is really nice. Wow, that one, there's that shot that they use in the beginning, those two little kids, they're pretty darn perfectly drawn. And I think he influenced people for a long time, but you don't see now, almost every strip I see is Bill Waterston, Calvin and Hobbes influenced, and for good reason. And it took a good 10, 15 years for everyone, for all the Bill Waterston guys to grow up and start drawing their own strips. But wow, look at that! You don't see Dennis the Menace influenced strips anymore. But look at those people! Wow. Are you trying to look funny? Look at that! Look at how few lines he defines that hat with. And the mother, just boom, he just gets it. In just a few lines, he can capture things. Nice triangle shapes of that chair. So this is what they mean when they say they like his. He draws with a brush really well. Like just the complexity, that's simplicity and complexity all in the same picture. Because the two kids are pretty simply drawn, but there's so many complex graphics in there. Just all the dark lines of that tricycle and the dark lines of the teddy bear with the shirt and this other kid's shirt and pants. It's complicated. And then he opens things up and it's nice and airy. He uses mostly single weight line here with his brush and this dentist shot. So there's a good juxtaposition right there of two different styles of drawing. Lots of open. Well, you still got a few blacks in here, but lots of open drawing and lots of blacks and marks mixed in. And there's a nice complex dinner scene where he just he uses simple shapes and thicks and thins to define things, and that's not easy to do. That takes a long time to learn how to do. But Dennis is quite solid. Compared to, that's why you know your attention should go there. What's the line? My dog could sure use that bone. Look how solid that Dennis the figure is. The black of his outfit really makes him solid. But then he makes him solid over here, with lots of lines and shapes and him holding things and wonderful bird cage there. Just the complexity of graphic design in this figure right here is amazing, because he defines some things just with a line and silhouette on this chair. He defines other things with thin line shapes. It's just wow. Like I said, I'm really glad I got these books and eventually got to see what people were talking about when they said they like his ink work. Look at that, coming down the stairs. The stairs all done in silhouette. He's even got a little motion in the head. I'm not sure he pulled off this motion great, but he doesn't have a lot of motion lines in his work. And he doesn't run his lines through Dennis. He somehow manages to tuck Dennis in under his arm without making it too much of a tangent. That's a tough thing to do. Because in artwork, what they call tangents is when things meet. When, like, see how his elbow almost meets Dennis's hair? If it were actually to meet Dennis's hair, we'd call that a tangent. And you see how her head almost meets the top of the cabinet? If it would meet the top of the cabinet, we'd call it a tangent. And you generally want to avoid tangents, because they can be distracting to the overall design of it. He avoids them by dropping that cabinet in there, right, not touching them. What do we got here? See how he tucks Dennis in there, avoiding all the tangents again? His head's not hitting that dresser, not hitting the bed. It's just framed by the bed and the space. Another nice Dennis figure, a little patterning in her shirt. Using line and pattern in that silverware. I guess sometimes he just wants the cutout there too. I wonder what that. He overlapped the cookies a little there. Hi, Mom. Who? The babysitter? Oh, she chickened out and went home. All right, let's flip to the back just for the heck of it, because I can't go through this whole book. There's hundreds of pages. How many pages is this? 643 pages. Oh, cracking it a little. I think that's just because it hasn't been open in ages, and it's a sewn binding. But there's also, even in a sewn binding, the pages are glued to the sewn binding. So, oh, look at that one. The rocks coming out of his rock. My rock collection. I thought it was lost, and hitting him in the head. All those little lines. Beautiful shot of the father and mother there. Father's dog. Oh, nice shot of Dennis too. His drawing really is excellent. Boy, I thought Dad's pipe smelled awful, but yours really. There we go. Gives us a little smoke lines there for a change of pace. Some grays almost. They're all actually black lines, imitating a gray. Look at just the inky shapes in the mirror back there. Dennis in his cowboy hat, amidst, a solid head amidst all those white light lines, all that white space and light lines. Interesting. His ink drawing really is something. He's reversing out the folds, giving us white folds on dark pants. A couple of nice figures. Look at the sweep of this hat. Just one swoop, another swoop. Really made nicely. With detail in all the buckles and things, a little bit of detail in there. The mother's face, made up of a few simple ink lines. This approaches like Chinese calligraphy area, the way he makes lines. Oh, look at those curls. Beautiful curls. Oh, he's got some motion going here pretty well. And that tricycle. Slow down, Dennis. I just had my hair fixed. Oh, look at it. The jokes are amusing. But it's the drawing that's the real prize. Wow, he even gives us a horizon line. If you notice this one, he doesn't usually do this. He puts the eye level, the horizon line, way down here on the floor. So we're looking up at Dennis and we're looking up at the women. He usually doesn't frame things that way, but we're seeing from a Dennis the Menace eye view on this one. Pretty interesting. Let's see. Dennis's hair is just a few lines. Some folds in the bed with a few lines. Racing down the stairs. I like those curls. I don't remember this character's name. The girl in Dennis the Menace. Don't think of it as milk. Think of it as pink cheeks, pretty teeth, and nice straight legs. Okay. I wish Daddy would hurry and go back to work so you and me can go back to bed again. What a shot of the mom there. Nice. We can see her tiredness and sleepiness. Alright, let's look at one more page. I've been at this long enough. Ah, there's a good look at her coming into the room. The back, just spots of black behind her, and that guy's coat, that woman's hair, the bed behind her skirt. That's just a beautiful, beautiful piece of cartooning, of drawing. With him over here holding the phone, nice. A pile of laundry on the bed. I'm pretty sure Bill Watterson was a Dennis the Menace fan. How could he not be? Especially being the Calvin and Hobbes guy. But wow, just beautiful, beautiful draw. Oh, look at this. We get some 5 o'clock shadow. I said one more page, but then I flipped the page. Wow, look at the 5 o'clock shadow on Dad, and look at this guy's face right here. Wow, that's some ink work right there. Alright. I think we've looked at Dennis the Menace long enough. We're almost up to 18 minutes here. So you guys, if you want to go out and get your own copy, or I think there's more volumes of this now. I'll have to look. I can't stop looking. Nice muscle man, different types of bathing suits. Nice. Okay, I gotta close this now. Nice drawing they picked for the front here. Well, so there you go, Dennis the Menace, 1955 to 1956. Like I said, this is volume 3. They don't put volume numbers in any of them, but I guess it doesn't need volume numbers because you can read them any which way. They're all gag-a-day strips. So you guys all have a good week out there.